Have you ever felt like you were living someone else's life? Like you were doing all the checking all the boxes and doing what you were supposed to be doing, but deep down inside, you weren't feeling fulfilled? Maybe you were ignoring that nudge that was inside of you, telling you that there's something more that you should be doing. Maybe that nudge is your soul trying to get your attention. What if the first step towards creating the life you truly want is simply chasing what lights you on fire? Hi, guys. Welcome to the Aligh Us podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nikhil Sharma, and I'm so grateful to have you guys here with us today. Over the past 2 years, I made the difficult transition from moving from being a physician in the hospital to pursuing my soul's calling and becoming an entrepreneur. Through this podcast, I want to discuss the lessons that I've learned, along with introducing to the amazing people that I've met along that journey, so that it will help you step into your purpose and move with intention. Joining me today is my co-host, the brilliant Dr. Prianca Naik, who is now a model. Welcome, Priyanka. How are you doing today? Just grateful to have you
I'm
here with
thrilled
us.
to be here and share and hopefully inspire whomever is feeling like they are scared, but maybe want to make a little change.
That's right. And joining us today is one of our favorite guests that's going to be talking about the topic of the first step of conscious creation, which is chasing what lights you up, is the excitement whisperer, the author of The Best Life Ever, and transformational coach, Taylor Wells. Welcome, Taylor. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm so excited. Very honored to be here.
We're very honored to have you with us. And for those that are listening out in the live sections, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will make sure to get them at the last 10 minutes of this podcast. So I'm just grateful to have everyone join us. Taylor, so let's just jump right in. You've created a very famous conscious creation model, which is the 5 steps to conscious creation. Can you tell our audience just briefly what those steps are? And what does it mean to you to be chasing what lights you on fire?
Yeah, I would love to. So basically, the first thing to know about the 5 steps of conscious creation is that it's very, very simple. Okay. So the most difficult thing about these 5 steps is that your lower mind, your inner critic is going to say, it can't be that easy, and ask for more. But this is literally how reality is created. Okay. So this is the mechanism that creates reality. This is the machine. So if you choose to follow these steps, these 5 steps that are very simple, precisely, consistently, they work. There are no exceptions whatsoever. So that is the fun explanation. So step 1 is follow your highest excitement. Okay. And the reason why, so I'm just going to,
Yeah,
yay, that's what we're going to talk. That's
for sure, for sure. The scariest step, I think, for sure. But
If you
yes,
follow
the
your highest excitement,
funnest.
you're like having a good time. Like, who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and that's why I love that you said chase in the title and et cetera. But when you actually are following your highest excitement, you don't have to motivate yourself or anything because there's nothing else. Like it's a complete kit, right? And the reason why we do follow our highest excitement is because that is how your higher mind, your authentic self communicates with you. And Dr. Nick said that for him was the hardest step, the hardest part. And that's because many people have been programmed, right, socioculturally to believe that, well, you shouldn't be doing that, that you should not be having so much fun. And I don't believe that. That's not my belief. It's a valid belief. Okay. We'll do that in another podcast. Why all beliefs are valid. Step 2 is to take action. Okay. Step 1 was to follow it. Step 2 is to take action on your highest excitement. If you don't take action, it's not going to work. Okay. Because we live in 3D, third density, Earth. It's actually density, not dimension, by the way. And you need to take action, period. Step 3 is take it as far as you can, all right? The action, maintaining a positive outlook. This is essential. All these steps are essential. Step 4 is to let go of all attachment to how it unfolds. So whatever it is that you're so excited about, feel that emotion of excitement and visualize that thing for 15 minutes, what a person, place, or thing, and then drop it. because you have no idea how it will show up. It's either going to be that or way better. Okay. So you will actually resist even better stuff by sticking to that one vision. Okay. And then the fifth step is to consistently be curious about and examine your beliefs, which cause it to be difficult for you to do these steps, such as, I was trained to be a doctor and I can't follow my highest excitement because blah, blah, blah. And then when you find those beliefs, Dr. Nick and Dr. Prianca, that don't serve you, those false beliefs, right? Because they're segregative, you may choose to let them go. And then when you do that, well, then your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions will follow suit. So it's always your beliefs that are the foundation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That makes complete sense. It's very simple, like simply
So
put
simple.
out. But unfortunately, us as humans living in this very dense reality, a very distracted reality, it can be very challenging to follow those steps out because of all the external pressures that have been put on us and us not having the foundation to truly pursue what it is that our soul is wanting to do. So, first of all, how can people figure out what their soul is telling them is making them happy, and how can they trust that what they're feeling is the right way to do things? Because again, we have been taught for a long time to not trust what our gut is telling us, even though it gives us a signal what feels good, but oftentimes we're told no, that's not right. That's not the way society deems it needs to be for you to become happy. Numerous, societal matrix like pressures that get put into us. So we then suppress what it is that we truly desire, and we just conform to whatever everyone around us is telling us is what happiness means or what emotional fulfillment means, which is usually materialism, money, certain level of careers, status. But that's what society has deemed for us to be happy. How can we, first of all, trust what we're thinking and feeling is the right happiness? And then how can we focus ourselves on pursuing that aspect? Because I know for me, and I'm asking this to Prianca, there's a lot of distractions that go on in this world and in our lives. And oftentimes that takes us away from what our soul is telling us. So how did you take those steps to figure out what it was that made you happy and then, go with the flow there?
So
Was that to Prianca?
Yeah, as like
that was to Prianca,
as a user of this conscious creation. So it's
incredible.
So what really, I think, prepped me for understanding this stuff was meditating. I'd been meditating for years anyway. So sitting quietly and just being able to disconnect myself from the distraction and all the stuff. That's helpful, right? But really, it's that voice inside of you that will say something, and then your inner critic's like, oh, no, that's not. I mean, where do you get off thinking you can do that? And that's sort of like your first indication that is, let's say, your highest excitement. So the first time I said to Taylor, I've never modeled, but it's funny. So Taylor very cleverly asked me if I'd ever modeled. And I said, no, I haven't. But, it came to my head recently, but it's totally crazy. And she was like, well, why is that crazy? And I said, well, because, and then I gave the inner critic answers. And then as we continue to talk about it and really unpack it, there was nothing that crazy about it because it was my highest excitement. Just that in and of itself was enough for me to take action. But as I kept doing it, I guess as I was doing it, I would just really feel like in my zone. Or if you really get into this work, then you start feeling goosebumps, chills, whatever you want to call it. But you start getting these synchronicities, signs. You can feel it in your body. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm on the right track. But if you go around telling people that, they'll be like, are you?
That is very, very true.
You really know you're on the right track. When people start saying that, keep going.
I agree. It's the craziest people that have the craziest ideas that end up being like innovators of the future, right? They're the ones that push the needle.
Look at every single person. They're all
exactly right. They're all crazy, but they ended up shifting the needle and helping society evolve. So, use that as a motivation, I would say.
Yeah, that's always a sign you're on the right track. I think your question is brilliant because it's how do I delineate between excitement and anxiety, right? Or excitement and shame or guilt or whatever. And Dr. Prianca answered that really well. It was funny because I was going to toss it right to her. And that's what you did, because it's best to really hear in real time, like what people are doing. Now, what Dr. Priyanka discussed was meditation. So meditation is a permission slip, if you will, to have a connection. Everyone has different permission slips. I personally meditate every day. I practice yoga every day. Those work for me. I used to have yoga studios. I don't miss a day of either of those things. I don't force myself to do them. It's something I prefer to do. That's also one thing, everybody, you can do right now. If you choose to, you can choose to, instead of saying, Taylor, I want this, or usually people start out with, I don't want that. Then they don't even talk about what they want. When they first come to me, they're like, I really don't want this and I don't want that. And I say, okay, so what is it that you prefer? So even when you first are learning this, everybody, and I promise you it's so easy once you get the hang of it, okay? And then you just practice it all the time. Why wouldn't you? Choose to what you prefer, because when you say to the universe, okay, universe is a machine. It's not emotional. It's whatever belief you're shooting out there, it's coming back, and you look around at your reality. Those are your beliefs. Okay. Now, some of them are not your beliefs, Dr. Nick. They're someone else's. How do you know that? They feel heavy. Okay. So if it's excitement, because it just feels exciting, and you might be, jittery because you've never done this before, butterflies. That's not anxiety. You will learn. It's basically know thyself, right? And just be your authentic self. And notice, as Priyanka said, that inner critic, who you always know it's the critic, because the critic uses things like, we can put up a visual of this later, of the negative and positive belief systems, but the critic will always make it impossible. It's like it's talking out of two sides of its mouth. Okay. And if you really listen, it's saying two things at the same time. So you really kind of can't win unless you stay in the mud, because your critic wants you to stay heavy like that. And he or she or they say, well, it's better to stay here, because if you try that, you're going to look really stupid. And who do you think you are being a model? Or who do you think you are being an entrepreneur? And you're wasting all of that, blah, blah, blah. And so everyone has a critic, and that critic isn't mean. It's not malevolent. It's just not really, qualified for the job of creating, right? Because your critic is only able to look at the past or exactly what's in front of the critic. So your higher mind is the one who's on the mountain and knows it all. And it always feels good. It feels exciting. And as Priyanka said, when people start to say you're nuts, you're on the right track.
Yeah, and I think, as you were talking, I was just thinking about, as I was growing up, I had many ambitions at that time, whether it was to be like an actor or it was to be like an astronaut. But then, I would start hearing voices from external figures in my life and being like, that seems really unrealistic, Nick. And so it's so crazy and how quickly those dreams can die for you. Like what was lighting you up at that time, especially when you were a young child, I feel like that is when you're the most free and you have the most brilliant ideas. But unfortunately, a lot of those ideas get shot down, and then you kind of conform yourself into what everyone else around you deems as happiness. But then life goes on and you realize that, something seems out of alignment for me. Yes, I've become a doctor, but I'm not feeling fulfilled in what I'm currently doing. And there's this inner voice, at least for me, I can speak, and I'm sure Priyanka can speak for herself as well, that this doesn't seem like it's the path I'm intended to go on for the rest of my life. Now, I knew at a very young age that I had a vision, like I think it was around 20 years old, that I really wanted to help people. Like that was one of the core things that I always believed that I was sent here to do. And at that time, for me, it was coming up with these traveling clinics in India to go into like these desolate communities and providing them diabetic healthcare and education and insulin for those who could not afford it at that time. Like that's what I was envisioning at that time. I didn't know how I was going to make that happen or what was going to happen, but I just knew that I was going to help individuals that were impoverished and needed help the most. But then I just figured going to medical school was going to be the route for that. And I'm obviously blessed that that happened. But there became a time where I became unfulfilled. Then I knew inside, though, that something else is burning up. And it was that vision of me wanting to help individuals that were less fortunate than I was. That was those people in these countries, our third world, and even in our own country, the United States, where there's so many issues going on. I wanted to be able to help them, but I was like, how do I go do that? Is it realistic for me to start listening to what my soul and my inner critic is, or my inner voice is telling me?
Yeah.
Because very quickly after that, your inner critic starts building up. And when your inner critic builds up, it starts bringing back like situations that you've had in the past that have ended up in failure, especially when you're trying to do something new and something unknown. It's natural for our nervous system to start kicking in and being like, whoa, 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 that sounds very, very unsafe, Nick. It's better that you just stick to your route of being a doctor, working in the hospital, because we know that this is safe. Like, it's very safe, and it's very challenging for people to change. And then, but what happened was that because I wasn't following my inner voice, I started feeling a lot of resentment. And when you start feeling resentment, that's a lot of pain. And when we're in pain, we start distracting ourselves more and more because we're like, I don't like this feeling. So that either meant like drinking a lot or going out with friends, being on social media, gambling, codependent relationships, whatever it is that you use to distract yourself, gambling, whatever it is, it starts taking over. And when you're in that spiral, in that loop, with constant distraction, you start building up more and more resentment because you realize that I'm not following what I'm meant to be following. And that becomes that life cycle, and that toxic cycle becomes unbearable. And it was at that point when I realized I cannot do this anymore, that I need to make a change. I finally, took that leap of faith and was like, you know what? I'm just going to follow what my soul is telling me to follow and see where it goes. That's all. And have faith.
And you had you had your hand on a hot stove, right? And so you're self-medicating.
He was like holding on.
He had one
hand
on the stove, and then he's like meditating with this hand. And finally, he just said enough. And so what we can help people do who are listening to this is you don't have to wait till you don't have to hold your hand on the stove. You can take it off. And your critic, honestly, the safest thing you could ever do, everyone, is follow your highest excitement. That is the safest thing you can ever do.
Why are you laughing, Prianca? Yeah,
listen,
that's true.
I love following my highest excitement. All the time, and I definitely feel like certain things where I'm like, I'm following my highest excitement, but am I really supposed to be taking a nap right now?
And what do I say? What do I say, Dr. Prianca?
Yeah, like 100%. Yes. And like, there was one day when I wasn't getting much done and I felt really guilty, and not guilty, but I was like, oh, this isn't good. I was like, and I texted Taylor and I said, but this is my highest excitement right now. I was like, doing nothing. And she goes, do nothing. And literally it was like the next day and the days that followed were so busy and like so like happening in emotion that it made perfect sense. But like, I can't see the future.
Wow. You can actually. So what I do when I coach is I tune into my client's higher mind. Okay. So I'm speaking for her or whoever I'm speaking to. I go into a zone and I'm speaking, and I am a permission slip, just like meditation and yoga or, taking a walk. People do many different things to get in their zone and to be able to hear. So it's fascinating because I will say stuff, I know what I need to know when I need to know it. It just drops in. And I don't know from that. What did I just say? I don't even know about that. And it comes out because I'm able to do that. She hears me when I'm on a call and she trusts me because you can trust me, and she follows it. Then she gets off the call. She's flying high. She's like, woo, with that higher mind. And then it starts to the critic starts to come in. You're taking a nap? Really? And the thing is, what happened with that? That's a beautiful example. Everything is orchestrated. Okay. There are no coincidences. So she listened. She did it was her highest excitement to take a nap. Okay. And she took a nap, and guess what? Everything is in motion while she's napping, right? Things are lining up. If she had forced herself to bang out emails or whatever she would have done, that is now resistance. Okay. Now she's pulsing this out to the universe, like, not me, not me, not me. Or I'm wanting, and the universe just skips right over her and gives someone else that modeling job. Okay. So literally she chilled. Oftentimes we expand. This is like the infinity sign. Okay. We expand and then we come inward. Some people call it depression. I call it compression. That's not depression, but you expand and then you compress. This is natural. Okay. But people who have been trained like you two, and I was trained the same way, no, you got to keep going, go, go, go. And so that is the opposite. Okay. It shouldn't be hard. You'll want to take action. So if you think I'm laying around all day, I'm like not laying around all day. I have a lot of energy. I do a lot of things. However, I'm always energized. I'm excited to do it. I will not do anything unless I prefer to do it. And by the way, I love doing my kitty litter because I love everything, because you can get to that point where it doesn't really matter what you're doing because you're just in a it's like a 4D state. It's a gamma state. And you're just kind of there. And then you're like, sure, I'll do that. Sure, I'll do that. And it's all even and just feels good. And I promise you, it's so easy to get to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to me it does.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So the one thing I wanted to ask you, Prianca, and I just wanted to know if you also had the same issues I did, for those that are out there that are considering chasing their highest excitement, what were some of the biggest challenge I feel I had was, okay, yes, my inner voice was telling me like, this is crazy. And it's your nervous system. It's completely normal for your nervous system to tell you to stop and to not do anything new because its job is to keep you safe. For those that are out there, that voice inside of you that keeps telling you no, 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 that's just your nervous system that is responding for protection. But you actually have to overcome that. You have to actually put in some effort. You have to actually go on overdrive a little bit and be like, you know what, nervous system, I know that's just you acting up and that's you trying to put up this artificial wall from me and my dreams. So I'm recognizing that and I'm going to affirm that it's going to be okay. But once I started doing that, I started getting a lot of external critics that started coming my way, especially first for me was my parents and, my dad specifically, and, family members being like, you're a doctor. Do you understand how hard that is to be a doctor? That is the end goal for many, many people out there that you reach this pinnacle profession. So why wouldn't the heck would you ever want to change your career? And I'm like, man, like I'm not necessarily leaving becoming a physician. I'm always going to be a physician, guys. But let me just let you know that there is something that's inside of me that's telling me that I need to do my healing work with others in a different manner. I want to create a company that's going to help our young people, that's going to also help our adult population. So it was a lot of voices of people that were really getting at me that I found that were going to be really challenging. And I think that's a challenge a lot of people are going to face. And just wanted to know what you faced when you initially decided to, hey, I'm going to chase my highest excitement.
To be honest, I'm so excited about it and I'm so certain. And I feel like most people who interact with me know that when I say something, I'm going to, F and do it. So when they're hearing it from me, they're like, oh, okay, so she's being a model now. And yeah, I'm sure like a couple of my friends, I can tell, I feel like they've talked about me behind my back a little bit, and that's okay. Like, kind of like, oh, what's she doing? But to my face, no one has really said anything actually. And everyone's like, oh, but I will say when it comes to just in general, not necessarily my career, but doing anything, following my highest excitement, or if I feel a calling or I feel compelled or any of that, I just do it because to be honest, most people are not happy. Most people are not, many, not most, but maybe many people are not happy. Many people are not satisfied. And I don't want to end up like that. So I got to do something different than like the daily grind and the I'm doing stuff in spite of the fact that like I don't want to. So many people do that and they're so unhappy. Like, why would I do that? Right.
No, I agree. Like a majority of the people that are around me, it's almost like they put up these masks and they pretend like they're really happy and they put up all these photos on Instagram and Facebook. But deep down inside, I can tell, your energy doesn't lie. It's funny that people think that they can pretend to be happy, but it's obvious, and you're only just pretending to yourself. So I agree. Like it's all about you for once in your life. Like I feel like as we've been growing up, it's always been about other people's needs and desires. And that's how over time you can get burnt out, is because you're constantly pushing away what your dreams are for somebody else's, whether that's your husband, your wife, your parents, your kids, whatever it is. Like at some point, you have to realize that there's a signal inside of you that is telling you, that's going off and being like, you are meant to accomplish this in your lifetime, and you need to turn down the noise, and tune into that signal, because that signal to noise ratio for me was like signal 40%, noise 60%, and it was me having to tune out that noise through various practices like meditation, like not checking my social media first thing in the morning. In fact, when I was starting this path, I got off of social media completely. I wanted no type of distraction that was taking me away from what my signal inside of me is telling me that's making me happy, and just devoting that time and love that I was giving to everybody else, my job, other people, my family, my friends, just overextending myself. I started bringing that energy back to myself and started cranking up the signal sound. And it was like, dun 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 dun. My heart was beating like, Nick, you got to start this company of yours if it's the last thing you're going to do, because it's going to bring you that excitement that has been gone and that's lost over the past several years of doing things that weren't making you happy anymore. It's just physically, I couldn't take it anymore.
But you know what, Dr. Nick? You're doing what you wanted to do as a young boy. It just looks different than the whatever sociocultural norm. And the reason those people came to you is because your critic was crafty, was very crafty with this. He's like, let's bring in his dad. All right, we're losing him. Bring in the dad. Bring in the aunt. Bring in the this.
That's brilliant. You're right. It's
And
crazy.
it's literally how it works. And you
It
can
is.
learn to just speak to the critic and be like, yeah, that was good. Yeah, no. Yeah, thank you, but no, thank you. Because remember, your critic is valid. So you don't shut it down. You don't kill it. You cannot kill your negative ego. It's you. Okay. You love it. It's just an insecure part of you that knows it's an imposter because he's not on the mountain. He can't see, but your higher mind can. Okay. So your higher mind knows the movie turns out so well as long as you listen to him. And how does he speak to you? Through excitement. So it's very simple. It's like, and then the critic comes in, you're being selfish. The kindest thing you can do for all those people is to be your authentic self. So that's really interesting because the critic says, oh, you've been giving to them all that time and now you're being selfish. No. So your only job is to be you. That's it. And however you choose to do it, great. But you weren't being you. Okay. So when you realized you weren't being you, you started drinking and all that stuff, whatever you were doing. Everyone does different things to shut it down. It's never going to work. It can't. It can't work.
It's not sustainable. And that's the thing. And what you said was brilliant, was that when you start following your highest excitement and whatever that is, you start blossoming. It's like this aura that starts developing around you. And what that aura does is it starts fueling everybody that is in your inner circle. Like my dad was not in the greatest place before. And so like when I started pursuing what was making me happy, that actually brought me even closer to my dad and like wanting to spend time with him and making sure he was doing well. Because when I was in a job that I wasn't happy, then my energy level was low. My cup was filled barely with any kind of water. So I didn't have anything to spread to anybody else, right? I couldn't. I just was physically drained. But now that I'm in my highest excitement, I've never spent more time with my family than I've ever done since I can remember. My dog is thriving. Like everyone around me is thriving. It's all because I went after what was making me happy. And for those one or two people that might get upset or got upset that I made the change, it's okay. They weren't meant for me to go on the next leg of the journey with me. It's that simple, like
everyone can't hear you. They're at a different whole dimension. So you could talk to them. And this is what they see. They can't hear you. So they're just going to judge. And the key, everybody, is don't judge them because oftentimes your critic will get you that way. Oh, what an asshole, blah, blah, blah. No, because now you have become that, right? So you just say, that's cool. That's not my choice or whatever. That's cool. And off you go versus like, when you're pissed off like that, anger lasts 15 seconds. Okay. So feel it, go to neutral and then go to what you prefer. Off you go. Focus on the podcast, feel it. And then soon that's an alignment principle. Okay. That rush you get, most people stay in it. They get in the drama. Can you believe what he said? And what about what she said? Blah, blah, blah. What a waste of your energy, right?
For sure. You were going to say something, Prianca? I feel like you were getting excited when was that the same thing happened to you?
Yeah,
when you started pushing through?
So when you were talking about how you following your highest excitement had this ripple effect around you, I had this visualization of like people see you and they see what you're doing and they're just like, I want what she's having, or like, what is she like, what's she up to? I want to do that. Like at my improv class, there was a nurse practitioner. She may be watching this, but anyway, she learned about what I was doing and she was like, oh my God, like I'm going to do acting too. And I want to, like, I'm doing it. And then the next day she came to me and she was like, you really inspired me. And I thought, oh my God, just by like literally being myself and like telling my story, it has this ripple effect, of course, on your loved ones, but also on people that you don't even know.
No, I agree. It's like we are true like magicians. We're alchemists, and we have such immense power. And it's just about understanding the tools that you need to use to be able to manifest those things that you are truly desiring to manifest. And Taylor has done a masterful job in creating this incredibly easy tool, the 5-step of conscious creation, that everyone out there needs to be able to just look at, read, and then just follow those steps. Yes, those steps can be challenging, but that's what we're here for, to help guide you and to help support you in your spiritual growth journey, in your personal growth journey. Because again, everyone around you will prosper. I promise you, prosper when you are prospering, so whatever that looks like, in whatever situation you may be in, whether you're married, you're not married, you're single, whatever, you have kids, you don't have kids, like there's always going to be some disruption that's going to occur when you decide to go after what makes you happy. But just remember, all those stars and people that went after these goals of becoming actors, rappers, singers, don't you think that people told them that they were crazy for trying, right? But they still did it, right? They still push through. So it's the people that push through all that noise. They push through their inner critic. They get support. They find themselves in situations they're in positive mindsets, letting go of any self-doubt that they've ever had and kept going. They're the ones that make it. The ones that don't make it, unfortunately, they're the ones who somewhere along the way, something happens and then they get trapped back into the matrix, or they're trapped back into that world. And, they don't feel like there's always something that's stopping them, whether it's financially or something. They'll use an excuse because that's all it really becomes. But if you just get yourself in that right positive energy, you'll attract abundance in loads. You know what I mean? Loads.
So one quick thing about that, because we could do this on another podcast, but remember, if you're following step 3 and you're maintaining a positive outlook, no matter what unfolds, it's the best ever. Because how do you know? So a best example is, you're caught in traffic. Nobody likes doing that, right? Oh, I'm caught in traffic. How do you know if you weren't in that traffic, you wouldn't have gotten in an accident and been killed, 5 blocks away? So you don't know how the universe is orchestrating. So when you learn, and I teach this, it's very easy to do, how to literally flip the coin every time. So what's interesting is the critic says it can be challenging. Okay, or actually the critic says it can be hard or difficult. The higher mind says, how exciting. A challenge is fun. Okay, so see the difference? So anything, even stage fright or fear, go right to the door, talk to the fear. What do you got? It never has anything. Fear is just completely smoke and mirrors. And there are many, many ways to do this, and they're called permission slips, and it's actually not hard at all.
I love that. We're coming towards the end of the podcast, and I just wanted to see if there was any questions out that maybe the audience would ask. Let me see if anything pops up here. Let me see. How do you tell the difference between a true inner spark and just a temporary high?
Great question. So that's your critic. Hello. Because I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. Thank you for the synchronicity, because I did want to talk about this. You don't have to care about anything except right now. Okay? Because there is no future, by the way. It's always now. So when you're in the future, you feel anxious. When you're in the past, you feel depressed. Not always. There are exceptions, but generally. So when you're following your highest excitement, truly, you're in the now, because you're here now. Like this, there's no place I'd rather be, for example, than here. Okay. I don't wish I were someplace else. This is where I want to be, or I wouldn't be here. So your critic gets really tricky. Like, I can't remember the word they use, but like true excitement or just as something spark. So keep following it. Okay. And know that your critic will find ways to somehow try to taint it. Like, oh, well, this is just a temporary good because it's now. And then it's the next now, and it's the next now. Remember, it doesn't have to be a huge thing, Pulitzer Prize idea. Okay. It could be, I want to take a nap. It could be, I want to go for a walk. You have basic things you can choose from, right? do some work, read a book, call a friend, have a meal, whatever. Do the thing that feels you're drawn to. You're going to get used to this feeling, and soon you'll be really good at it. And it will be first nature. Okay. So you don't have to know how. It doesn't have to be a big thing. And I gave the kitty litter example because first of all, it's true. Prianca knows this. And I'm not saying you have to love cleaning kitty litter, but the point is you can maintain a state of joy and excitement. And then everything feels fun and there's a flow. And once you get there, it's just like that 99% of the time. For now, as you're learning, just follow that spark. Okay. And if it burns out, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Dr. Nick is doing what he wanted to do as a child. Many times people say to me like, oh, I feel like I'm so scattered and I like this and I like this and I like this. And I'm like, yeah. And it's all under the idea of helping people. What's your problem? Just go do the one, or just flip a coin and do one of them. And then if it piddles out, do the other one. Okay. So there's no such thing. You cannot screw this up. All right. No. You can't.
No, you said it perfectly there, is that like, just start going after what is exciting you in the current moment, and it will eventually lead you to where you need to be and what's going to bring you the most amount of excitement. That's really, really well put. You don't know how the ending is going to look. Don't set any expectations as to what it has to be. That's when you suffer. Let go of expectations and just start your journey about like, go after what's making you happy. We have one more question.
Okay, hold on. One thing. People think when you say that, when I say that, they think we're trying to talk, because the critic says this, he's trying to talk you out of getting your dream. Don't listen to that guy. Don't listen to her. What we're saying is the opposite of that. We're saying your lower mind, bless its heart, it has like this much ability to imagine. I would never in a million years have told you that I would be doing what I'm doing right now with 5 kids and whatever, ever. Okay. My sister claims I said I never wanted to have kids. I don't think I said that, but the point is, you have no idea. Your lower mind, your higher mind has huge things that you can't even conceive of. So we're not trying to talk you out of it. We're saying get into that excitement about that and then drop it. Okay. And then just see what comes.
Last question. What would you say to someone who feels disconnected from their passion and doesn't know what lights them up anymore?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oh, well, you guys should answer that. Both of you.
When I kind of, even when I started life coaching, it's really time and space, because when you're in the daily grind and you're just going from thing to thing to thing, and then you're not sleeping, and again you go and you have no energy, and your brain is just like mush. Any time or space you can take, doesn't have to be long periods of time are helpful, but even like a walk or just some time to settle down and quiet down, like then it will start coming in.
Yeah.
I agree.
And they can go to the academy too, you guys. All this is in my academy for free. Go ahead.
Yes, we'll put all that information in the description and how to get with Taylor and these kind of help you with these kind of resources. But I would also agree with Prianca. For me, I took a year of like solitude, pretty much disconnect. I was disconnecting from external reality and reconnecting with my internal reality, which you're right. Like we get disconnected over years of doing things that are not aligned with our highest good. We're not taught those resources of how to truly align yourself with what your highest good is and what makes you really happy. And so I spent that time meditating 10 minutes a day to start the day, disconnecting myself from social media. I spent a lot of time walking, and just over time, you start feeling the sense of what makes you feel happy and what doesn't. You have a much better idea at that point when you spend time alone with your own energy, healing some of your past wounds, the wounds that have put a lot of darkness in your life, that have put a lot of doubt in your life. And once you spend that time working on yourself, you'll notice that this makes me feel good. And so I need to continue to do this. And you kind of go into this calling for yourself, what you feel that you've been brought here to do. Because when you have time to yourself, you end up associating something that has affected you in the past before, at least for me, I'll speak, then that you want to help others get out of that situation or prevent them from even going down that situation. And you'll want to inspire others to, lead a life that's more aligned for, what's best for them, or prevent them from falling into the same traps you did. So I would say reconnect with yourself, at least on a daily basis, set like maybe at least 10 minutes in the morning, specifically in the morning before all the stuff starts coming at you, whether it's work, life, kids, TV. Just spend some time on your own, meditate, or even just go for a walk where you're just in tune with what your body is telling you. And then it'll start coming, more and more from your subconscious to your conscious, and being like, you know what? All right, I gotta take action on this. I have to do something. When I do something, that's gonna not only make me happy, but it's eventually gonna make all those around me extremely happy, and them to start thriving. And that's the greatest gift you can give to somebody else, is you being in your highest level and you going after what truly makes you happy.
And also, if you're not doing that, everyone, if you're not your authentic self, they're not in a relationship with you anyway. That's not even who you are. You're an imposter. And I love what Dr. Nick and Dr. Priyanka said. Also, remember, nothing's gone wrong. Okay. So you didn't screw up. This is a part of expansion and being in 3D Earth. So think about an 8 on its side. So infinity sign. Okay. So you were so excited about your passion and you were expanding, right? And remember, it's a natural rhythm, all right? Like the waves, they come in, they come out. So people freak out. They're like, oh my God, I'm depressed. And I'm not saying that people aren't depressed. I'm trained as a clinical psychologist. I understand that. I call it compressed. I call it going inside to kind of find where the answers really are. And many people have many ways of working with that state of compression. That is simply the kind of coming in, the expansion, yay, and then the compression, and then expanding. So a big part of that is just knowing you didn't screw up and it's going to be okay. If you follow the things that they suggested are great. It's very personal. Your permission slips might change. I'm very unusual that I've stuck to the same yoga and meditation. Most people are switching it up. If it doesn't work, try something else. It's okay. It's going to be all right. That's what I want to say. It's going to be all right.
It is going to be all right. Well, look, this has been such an incredible conversation. I can't believe that we're finally being able to do this and do it in this way, and having all three of us together. And hopefully everybody out there has learned something from today. And if, I would say the main thing is that, it's only going to make your life and everybody's life so much better around you if you are going after what truly is igniting you internally. There's going to be several more of these conversations, and the next one we're going to talk about is how do we take action, right? Like, now that we have our we figured out what it is that's making us happy or what gives us the most excitement. How do we take action on that? Because that's the next big step.
Step 2.
And so until next time, thank you for everybody joining us out there.
Thank you.
Peace.